wanted to talk about this first, though, because this happened just a couple days ago. You probably didn't hear about it because of the Matt Gaetz shit, because of the Sarah McBride shit. There has been a turn, even in the last couple days. And I think it's something that we're going to see at nearly every level against trans inclusion. And it might not even really take that form. It might not always be Matt Walsh or Haya Reichik yelling and calling trans women men and screaming them out of bathrooms and harassing them on the street. But it will continue to lead to events like this, which will be sudden and brutal and violent. Crowd cheered as two transgender women were attacked at Minneapolis rail station, advocates say. The pair moved from Iowa to Minnesota last year under the 2023 Trans Refuge Law, according to a rally organizer. From November 18th, two transgender women were attacked at a Minneapolis light rail station, and onlookers cheered on the perpetrators rather than helping the victims, advocates say. After overhearing a group make derogatory remarks towards them at the station at Hennepin Avenue and 5th Street in downtown Minneapolis, the pair confronted the group, which led to a physical altercation, Minneapolis police told The Independent in a statement. Community organizers held a rally at the site on Sunday in solidarity with the two trans women, Dahlia and Jess. They were leaving the station when a man started yelling transphobic slurs at them, Amber Mumm, a rally organizer who spoke to both of them after the incident, told The Independent. Jess asked him to stop talking about them that way, prompting the man to sucker punch her. Dahlia then struck the man with her cane, Mumm said. Although the man was knocked out, 4 or 5 other people ran up and began to mercilessly beat the two transgender women, Mumm said. People were cheering the attackers on, Mumm said. Both of them were knocked unconscious and Dahlia was left with a broken nose while Jess suffered multiple contusions on her ribs. Quote, no one would help them, Mumm added, noting that her blood from their non-life-threatening injuries was still visible on the concrete during Sunday's rally. Trump's campaign vowed to use the federal government to stop gender-affirming care for minors and labeled the care child abuse and child sexual mutilation. He has also baselessly claimed that children go to school and undergo brutal gender-affirming operations. After he was reelected, the Trevor Project revealed it saw a nearly 200% increase in conversation topics related to the election across 24/7 crisis services. While alarming, we are not surprised to see that the wave of anti-LGBTQ+ politics of the past few years continue to harm young people's mental health. The Minneapolis trans community is preparing for a potential uptick in attacks by taking self-defense classes, while others are attending classes on how to get a permit to carry handguns in public. Representative Nancy Mace is doing her damnedest impression of Marjorie Taylor Greene. She is really, really, really trying to fill in that hole, trying to become the next Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, by just being as aggressive, despicable, rude, and cruel as possible, which is all of the Republican Party's favorite things. So they're just eating her up right now. Now, this is what she's been going on. She's been making a whole media tour to talk about one other specific representative, Sarah McBride.
4 years ago, I came out as transgender while serving as student body president in college. At the time, I was scared. I worried that my dreams and my identity were mutually exclusive. Since then, though, I've seen that change is possible. I witnessed history interning at the White House and helping my home state of Delaware pass protections for transgender people.
Just eating up the applause, you became famous basically by being the first woman at the Citadel, right? First female graduate. How do you feel about her rise to this kind of prominence? Being a member of Congress is a big deal, and I can't see any other accomplishment other than being a transgender.
Well, I've broken many glass ceilings. As you said, I was the first woman to graduate from the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina. I'm the first Republican woman ever elected to Congress from the great state of South Carolina. It is offensive that a man in a skirt thinks that he's my equal.
And that's, to me, I wanted to play that because I don't want to give this fucking ghoul more of the time of day than she needs. I think, honestly, if you gave her any more time of day, she would probably turn to ash. But I think that encapsulates for me what the actual complaint here is about. It is not about disagreeing with somebody's way of life. It is about dehumanization. Sorry, let me take that again. It's about dehumanization. It is about making others feel like they are quite literally less human than you. I think that was a little bit of a mask slip there, where she wants to say a man in a skirt, that is the term she is defining a woman by, is equal to me. He is my equal. Now, the reason I want to preface these two things before talking about Sarah McBride is that you cannot talk about Sarah McBride's stance and statement without talking about the world around her, the context of all that came before her. I don't really want to litigate Sarah McBride's stances on Israel. She has openly supported Israel, and for that alone, she should not have the support of anybody who is knowledgeable about any political subject, really. So I don't really want to... I want to put that aside for a moment. Because what I actually want to talk about is how, as the first... I believe she is the first... Yes, yeah. Sarah McBride is the first elected transgender person for the U.S. House of Representatives. And even on election night, that election was a small light for many queer and trans people. A very small light. Dulled by the aforementioned Israel stuff. But as Trump supporters, sycophants, Elon Musk fans, everybody was sending death threats and suicide bait and all sorts of other awful shit to queer people. I got plenty. The idea that we still have a trans representative was powerful for a lot of people. It was a little thing to hold on to. So, it's not surprising when you have people as rude and as cruel as Nancy Mace that they are going to attack somebody for something so thin, so inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. Because that is how the conservative culture war operates. It's how the conservative trans culture war operates. These things don't really matter to the average American, but they want to convince people that they're actually important. That every school just has legions of boys who are joining, like, women's sports teams, despite the fact that it is a ridiculously, incredibly small minority. And in one hand, there is a liberal, they go low, we go high mentality that I understand is where Sarah McBride is coming from here. McBride responded with a post on X, "I'm not here to fight about bathrooms. I'm here to fight for Delawareans and to bring down costs facing families. Like all members, I will follow the rules as outlined by Speaker Johnson, even if I disagree with them. This effort to distract from the real issues facing this country hasn't distracted me over the last several days." Now, on its face, that is a very principled way to approach the issue. I understand why somebody would make that decision. I understand that they think it is a good dig at Republicans to say, actually, I'm above this petty bullshit. And to turn around and go, this doesn't bother me at all. But it is also the same, they go low, we go high, moral superiority, liberal bullshit that has led us to the point we're at right now, essentially. This is may be a principled stance, but it is a principled stance based in somebody who is not experiencing the wider context around them and who they are. You might not get to choose to be trans. You did choose to run for office. Maybe this particular time and place in history, you didn't choose to be the first elected trans representative. But it happened, and you should be prepared for the responsibility that comes with that, especially at a time like this. It is so disappointing to see somebody so quickly roll over and play dead. For people who, make no mistake, again, like we were talking about with Nancy Mace, dehumanize her. She does not see Sarah as an equal. She sees her as lesser. I would be surprised if the Republicans, people like Johnson, people like Nancy Mace, even see her as a human being. So when she is abdicating her ability to make an actual stand for other trans people, in a place, mind you, arguably the safest physical place you could do it. There is constant security. Representatives have their own bathrooms. What she is doing, whether she realizes it or not, is failing every trans person in the country with this. Because simply rolling over, simply shriveling up, and taking up less and less space. When somebody says, "Get out of my way, rat," why are you here? You aren't even equal to us. There is a time for ignoring, quote unquote, ignoring the haters, right? It is galling that we went through the election we just went through with all the fucking rhetoric we just had to deal with. And one of the first news cycles of the upcoming presidency has to do with this shit. A Democrat just rolling over at the first sign of any struggle. And here's the real thing. Somebody earlier was talking about like how can we depend on the Democrats to defend us? We can't. We can't depend on elected representatives. Your community has to keep you safe. You can't depend on people who care more about their polling data than they do about who's actually hurt or protected by the things they say. And I want to give some credit to Sarah. Maybe she really is just that principled. And honestly, I want to believe that she just comes from a different background. That she just comes from a place where she is privileged enough to not be in contact with, not know all of the poor, impoverished, desperate trans people I know. I want to believe that maybe she's just ignorant to the constant harassment that we receive every day. I want generally to assume the best out of people until they show otherwise. And I don't think she has shown otherwise. But I think she has shown a valuable lesson that even when an elected politician looks like us, we can't necessarily trust them. She might think that she is acting in the best interests of her constituency. It is a insulated, neoliberal way of thinking. It's exactly the kind I would expect from the mainstream Democratic Party. Maybe that's how she got elected. Maybe she can. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe she will be a great catalyst for pro-trans action in the future. Maybe she will learn something from this. But in the meantime, the rest of us have to keep dealing with a world where the news is showing them there's no consequences for excluding us, for trampling over us, for hating us. And that's the lesson I hope she learns from this.